In this video, we're going to be going over how to replace the brake lever on an Apollo Air. The tools you'll need to complete this repair are a Phillips head screwdriver, 5mm, 3mm, 2.5, and 2mm Allen keys, electrical tape, and a pair of flush cutters. In order to change the brake lever on an Apollo Air, the first thing we're going to want to do is unhook the brake line from the lever itself. To do that, we're going to find these two adjustment screws here coming out of the lever, and each of them have a small gap around their diameter. We want that gap to line up so there's one clear channel. I'm going to pull the brake line and open. That should give me access. If you're finding that no matter how hard you're pulling, you're not able to get enough room to pull it out, what you need to do is loosen your drum brake at the wheel. So I pull this, bring it out, and then if I push down, it should come free. Our next step is to loosen this set screw at the front of the handlebar assembly. We don't need to remove it completely, we just need to loosen it. Then we're going to lift up this latch here, and using our 2.5mm Allen key, we're going to completely remove this screw that secures the headlight in the front. This will give us better access to the screws securing the display. And I can see the headlight's free. I can take this screw and put it aside. Now that the headlight's off, we have better access to the screws securing the display on the underside of the handlebars. So using a Phillips head screwdriver, now that there's nothing left securing the display onto the handlebar, it's just sitting there. I'm going to take a small Allen key and those screws we just removed from the front, I'm just going to poke and push up from there. And that will give us access to all the cablings inside. Now that we have our display free, we can go ahead and loosen the grip, the brake lever, and the throttle. It'll be a 3mm Allen key for the grip and the throttle, and a 5mm for the brake lever. For everything here, we don't need to remove the screws completely. They just need to be loose enough to move. Now I'm going to pull out the turn signal. I'm going to cut the wrapping around the connector. And now that the wrapping is gone, I can very easily just disconnect this, set it aside. Now I should be able to very easily just slide the grip off, the brake lever and the throttle. Just going to loosen for now. The brake lever obviously needs to come off all the way, that's what we're replacing. The throttle does not need to be completely removed, but it will help if you give it some space that'll allow you to better access the cables running through here. So I'm pulling the brake lever, I got a hold of the cable now, and attached to the display, because as I pull this cable, I can see that this connector here is what's moving, so I know this is the brake connector. I'm going to cut the wrapping on this and disconnect it. Now I'm going to disconnect it. I keep pulling. Brake lever comes right off, no problem. So installing my new brake lever, I'm going to pull out the throttle just a little bit more so I can see the space here. I'm going to make sure when I put this in that the ring of the brake lever, this turn signal connector, is going inside of it. Once I have this on, I can push this in, and this is why I like to have slack and room to play with the throttle. I'm going to go one step at a time. So the first step is to get over this retaining thing here. Then I'm going to get it into see it here. it comes. Now everything can be pushed as far to the inside as it can go. The one piece we disconnected when removing the brake lever, we're going to reconnect. And of course, we're going to retape that. But first, I'm going to put the grip back on the turn signal and tighten everything here. So I have my grip going on, of course, the turn signal connector on the inside. I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in. I'm going to tighten the throttle. Now I'm going to retape the turn signal connector there. I'm going to push this in. If you have a hard time pushing it in, you can find where the cables are coming out to the display and gently pull as you're pushing. Should give you plenty of space. And I want to make sure that I'm pushing the turn signal into the handlebars as I'm tightening the grip to make sure it is nice and tight when everything's installed. There we go, throttle's tight, grip is tight. I need to retighten the lever still. But first, we have one more cable to wrap up on the display from the brake lever. And once that's done, you can start reinstalling the display. There we go, the display should sit snugly even before we install it with the hardware. Now we're just going to install the screws on the underside of the handlebar assembly. You can take our 2mm Allen key and retighten the set screw at the front. We don't want to be too tight with this, we just want to, once we start feeling the resistance, we want to be done. And our final step will be reinstalling the headlight. So to do this, just need to make sure we can place it back nicely in its spot there. You should be able to see the hole for the threaded hole for the headlight through this hole. Then the very, very, very last step is just reconnecting the brake line. We're going to pull this out, open the flap. There is a slot. We're going to pull this, make sure these holes are aligned. Pull, and there we go. And I can tell that I forgot to retighten the brake handle. That's okay, we can do that at the end. Not an issue. So for real, the last step this time, 5mm Allen key. Tighten the brake lever nice and tight so it can't budge. And that's the end of our brake lever replacement on the Apollo Air.